So yes, again, I'm Thierry from Insurgo. I'm the maintainer of the Edge open source firmware project. Today, the goal of this talk was a call for opinions from the downstream. A bit of vocabulary here when we talk about upstream, it's like the main project, and downstreams are the forks that are using those projects to actually integrate and deploy in more tested releases. Edge is a rolling release. What it means, and I'm really happy about that because of past funded projects, is that Edge for each commit that are published inside of a PR comes attached with reproducible runs. So thanks to the past funded project with NLNet, we were able to create a reproducible Docker image, which is able to create reproducible runs for each commit, which means that in the future, since that moment that PR was merged, it means that for any moment in time, if you use the same commit of Edge, you will be able to get exactly the same bit-by-bit runs that are produced. So that is that. Now the problem is that when we are selling products, we need to have something that is not only tested by the community, but we also need things to be supported and considered like stable. And the problem here, and this is a discussion, so I hope people will come in front and discuss with me, because we cannot expect like the downstream release that create products and self-support for those projects to be necessarily in line with what is in master. So when we talk about a rolling release, my customers, like the open source users, are actually beta testers by default of the project. They want the newest features, they're willing to actually download or compile ROMs by themselves, creating the same reproducible ROMs. And they're happy of using some release in time that are different. And if they want something or they realize that there's a bug, they go up on GitHub, open an issue, and then I work on the issues that I'm aware of for master. And then later on, the downstream release, Nova Custom, NitroKey, other players will they have to decide which commit they pick inside of a release, and that needs to be decided in advance. So this is where the challenge is, and this is where we try to figure out what will be considered inside of Edge a feature freeze, or what do we decide, when do we decide that everything that is in development is kind of paused so that we give time for the downstream forks to have releases that are automatically tested manually, cause no regression, works for CubesOS, works for other operating system that changed like kernel versions, and then like /boot cannot be mounted anymore because they decided to put a new flag inside of ext4 for orphan files, and everything is magic like in there, but it means a lot of maintainership, synchronization, and that's the base ground for the discussion today. So what do we want for a future freeze inside of Edge so that downstream projects can pick Edge upstream commit? That's the question we need to answer today.
Yeah, maybe some more background from the Shara side. So our point is that we have a team, we have a budget, we have to schedule things. We cannot be like a rolling release. We cannot afford rolling release. We cannot afford making every commit a production quality because like we have 350 tests to execute every release, and essentially like cycle takes 2 weeks right now or something like that. So we cannot do something like that. So the point is right now some situation happened that we starting release cycle, and then we face a bug. Then we going to Thierry saying, this is, or 2 hours later, Thierry was sending pull requests, everything is fixed, and say, this is fixed. And what we do, we're getting back and starting from the beginning, but because we have to validate if nothing was broken, or shall we continue, shall we ignore, shall we just like assume that everything is fine? This is not production quality approach, So and that's problem. So if someone have experience dealing with with rolling release downstream, like rolling release upstream project, doing some downstream stuff, I would welcome feedback how to deal with that. So current approach is, like yesterday discussed with a lot of beers, and not only, is to introduce some kind of freeze. So first of all, we're going with, let's say we want to introduce some bug fixes in given release of Dasharo, because the Dasharo GAT releases heads right now don't. So we essentially, okay, we will fix this and that. We run single test against those bugs. If those are fixed, then we're deciding that we at like fixed point, let's say once in a year, twice in a year, we're starting to run the cycle. Now the problem is what if the cycle will not get through? It should get through, but the problem is what it will not get through. So what we're doing and how much we can afford of that, because that's essentially money for doing the release. Yeah. So but at least those, let's assuming that those bug fixes were fixed. So we have to freeze things at this point, and maybe only introduce the fixes which are needed to get through to the end of the release, not introducing anything else. This is like a feature freeze that Thierry talking about. I guess that's some idea. I don't know, like, do you have any better approach to that? Anyone?
This surely doesn't resolve your problem, but could make it a lot easier if you try to get as much as of the stuff you are testing into the upstream project, so that when somebody pushes to master, you have some CI which runs those tests which you can do against master, so that that surely doesn't work for everything. You still have your problem, because what you have developed on your main project is not exactly what you're delivering, so you still need your own testing, but you can rule out a lot of cases if you manage to get
so I would say
tested upstream.
So one problem is a business value of that, because like that's basic business value of Dasharo, yeah? That we're doing the validation and that we confirming the stability. If we will upstream all the, like, so if someone wants, everything is open. They can there's open hardware that driving the hardware. Tests are open. Everything is open. If someone wants to do that, but I will tell you like this: BIOS business is a function of validation that you can handle. That's it. So we're doing this for 10 years. We have a lab, 3 racks of hardware, people assigned to maintain that lab. I'm not sure if we are ready to expose that to the public and get.
To me? Can that be exposed
to
me?
To you? Yes, I think that's possible to expose that to you. But the problem is that laptops also got these problems with some interfaces, and some tests cannot be run automatically.
Yeah, so a bit of, I guess you answered some of that. From what I've seen, a lot of those tests are manual. And the current approach in heads, I think, is there is CI that is building stuff, and the testing is by Thierry putting a comment, pinging several maintainers for different boards.
Yeah.
So all the testing upstream is done manually. So it's not really, like in this workflow, it's not realistic to have every commit tested that is...
But near feature freeze, for example.
Yeah. But for the feature freeze thing, it could be like some agreement with the release cycle upstream, like, I don't know, every few months there is some time where development happens in pull request, but only bug fixes are merged. Maybe something like this could be agreed. But if not, then downstream could have a branch on their repository where, okay, we are preparing the release, so let's start with some specific point in time and only cherry pick fixes to issues we hit specifically, and not like not everything.
But that means
it's some extra work. I know, but
so I guess we were at at something like that point, but essentially we get into discussion when because like not all the fixes are so separated, and sometimes you have like spaghetti dependency between things, and suddenly it's some mindsets. It's not calling the names here. It's like you have this bug. Okay, so you have to fix this, but this is not really fixed because you need this, and this. I have everything I developed, that's fine. So we're essentially getting to most recent code because that's the best way. And maybe some couple open pull requests because those are also important.
Yeah,
but that's what we're dealing with here.
Time, like,
we have to even sometimes admit that we doing a release with known issue, and that should be okay, because if someone really cares about that, they will poke us, and in next release we will make sure that it will have higher priority. And by the way, this is like on the other side, this is open source. We cannot give you, even you paying for the Dasharo Core Boot Plus heads. It's not like we earning so much money that we can fix everything. It's not that. It's not like that. We're trying to create a sustainable ecosystem with that, and this is still kind of experimentation on how this will happen.
Yeah, having known issues is also some approach to deal. If the fix turns out to be very complex and backporting, taking the fix has a greater risk to introduce even more severe risks, bugs, then it's having some known issues also an option. And the complex backports, I know the pain.
No, backports I don't think will be possible. That's the thing. We need a feature freeze because of that. Like the way I'm thinking it right now, if you were choosing like the commit right now, it's stable with problems with crypt setup, like with things having changed to Lux 2, meaning people deciding like to inject a key would use the whole less secure like key release, and so that would be a known limitation as of now.
But do you have like a practical example working with moving with a rolling release like kind of approach or not?
Yes. We specifically decided to not support it officially because we use Arch Linux for that. So Arch Linux is moving very fast, and it's great because Arch Linux community reports they hit some issues before they hit any other distribution, if there's some maps. So yeah, but for this specific reason, we don't officially support Arch Linux on Cubes because we cannot keep up with fixing everything, following every change they made. It's unrealistic for us. So
okay.
So
feature freeze.
Sorry, I don't have solution to keep it as
I just like wanted this is design session, so maybe who knows, like if you're asking, maybe you'll get the answer.
Yeah, this is more of a question, but when you're talking about downstream projects, so the way that I see it is the people who are kind of like who have these downstream projects basically benefit from a stable version of heads. But what happens if someone wants to, if someone doesn't have an officially supported product of one of these downstream projects? What if they want a version that is known and they can't keep up with all of the latest updates? Would it be that a solution would be for various vendors who are interested in having like stable versions collaborate on basically like creating versions of heads which are known good versions?
But this is what Dasharo sells as a service, right?
Yeah, but it's too different. I would have one word to say there. Like, it's basically is using the work of the core boot port in a version that is known based on their release, But the problem is the chicken and egg here, because like when they release core boot plus heads, it's necessarily with an older commit of heads in their release, and then I pick that upstream, and then heads starts to change, being the rolling release, to the point where they need to put like a bug fix, whatever, because then their users are facing, my users are anonymous. They don't report a lot of bugs. Like they are people using it because they compile stuff by themselves. Like it's a weird community. Then their users starts and create issues in their repository for an older version of things that may or not be fixed, and that's where the race starts.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
That's the same stuff like when you talk about what we taking into the release. Yeah, Coreboot, for example, we will not take we will take some tag which is like arbitrary quality in Coreboot. Like there is in Coreboot tag does not mean anything. It's like just arbitrary point in time because managers complain that there is no release in Coreboot and yada yada. So that's why they have, because to be honest, they don't have comprehensive validation. I guess in the Linux kernel, to some extent you have similar, but there are a lot of organizations already doing the testing.
Yeah, but for kernel you have these release candidates and people.
I know, and there is a question if this works and so on. But the Linux kernel is so rich, so big. There is no way they will test everything.
Yeah, of course.
And they introduce regressions.
But there are also a lot of people testing that. If you take a look even at point releases of those stable kernels, which have also release candidates for, I don't know, 2 or 3 days, a very short time. They have a list of people that reported it testing, and it's usually over 20 entries for a single.
Yeah, it's the size of the community. It's a function of the size of the community.
Yeah, of course. But in Cubes, we do test RC kernels, for example. So we also report.
But as an example, I'm just giving. This is slightly off topic, but on LPC there was a case of the peripheral firmware, and Grant said that we cannot support that because there's no validation infrastructure for that, and how we will know that those peripheral firmware will work, after some time, after next release. So I guess this is similar problem that we have this validation infrastructure, we build that validation infrastructure, that's our job to deliver that, but that means we have to freeze versions at some point, because we have to start release cycle, and we have to just say that not everything's coming in.
My insight is checking what Graphene OS is doing, actually, because I find their model pretty interesting, but it requires people from the different communities to actually join the beta testing effort. So for example, if we arrive near a feature freeze, it would require like both your community, like all the communities like downstream, to throw users at me.
But I started this program and announced that on last Dasha user group that we starting the beta testing program. It worked quite well in Nova Custom. I would say it worked like it exceeded my expectation, because there are very engaged people in the private invite only beta testing group. They getting RC, they are not afraid to flash and to recover the devices, and it's going very well. Thanks to that we fix much faster, we have better coverage. I would say that would be definitely something to run with this, and plus this release cycle with feature freeze, but we have to precisely agree about the dates,
the cutoff. Other insights?
So I don't know if this is any.
But I like it. Okay, I'm okay with it.
So when you basically and have the same situation with Coreboot, like as you said, the tags are more or less just here, so tag a point in time. Otherwise, it's also in practice a rolling release. To what extent is heads different, or do you just want to have better cooperation for heads?
Heads just right now don't have this like fake releases, they just like it would.
No
it was, and then on the other side, like we control the Coreboot side. So when someone coming to us and we know that this was on this Coreboot, then we know how to behave with the upstream. We know how to deal with that because we're doing this thing. And if this happened with heads, then as for rolling release, answer is always the same. Use the latest version, yeah. So
Yeah, but don't you get the same for Coreboot?
no,
I do, like, because
Yeah.
outside of the forks, like, there are a lot of regression reported on, because I don't own all the platforms, so I rely on testing from the community. And it happened a couple of times in the past where, you know, S3 resume doesn't
Yeah,
work,
we
interrupts are...
we can achieve biggest
You know.
stability of Coreboot because we doing also UEFI based version, and thanks to that we have it's quite solid. Yeah, when we doing a release, Coreboot -R Coreboot plus UEFI, it's already like validated. So if we then taking the same base to the heads,
heads.
we can just a bunch of stuff is already verified. Yeah.
Yeah, but
We're not basing on Coreboot tag. It's not like it's precise Coreboot tag. It's Coreboot tag plus our stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the difference here is that you have a few Coreboot developers, so in many cases you also do fix the bugs yourself.
Yes.
Instead of like just picking a different version or something.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so that's also
I
a huge
see.
difference here.
For ads, like, we had to skip a couple of core boot release because the bugs were not fixed, and we just skipped the version until the regression were fixed, and that was it. But it's different story because ads is not just like one upstream. Like, we depend on 4 forks, I think, like, of core boot right now. So there's this situation now, but I also, that's why it needs to be clear, because if I do a freeze, I'm fine with the freeze, but I just have to communicate in a certain way.
Yeah. Sure.
That's it.
Sure.
Other insights? No?
What else we can do better in terms of we will do this freeze.
I need input from downstream, like I said. Like, that, this is something that will help me, like, the things that are reported the most and you know, the issues and everything, they need somehow to get to me so that I know that at least it's fixed upstream.
Mhm.
You know, like,
Yeah.
and then we can arrive like to the date without like worries and everything. Feature freeze, beta test,
Yeah.
go. You know, that would be my way of seeing this.
And then the question is how to handle like users and their issues, because that's something that could be confusing, you know. Because then like we will choose some heads version, we will fix what we can fix, we'll provide the test results.
Known issues.
And our known issues, and our normal kind of communication is like this. So for -R Coreboot plus UEFI, if user coming and saying this doesn't work, yeah, then we're going to the test. There's like 350 tests, and saying if this was even covered. If it was not covered, we're saying I'm sorry, this was not covered. We just didn't catch it. We can plan for the next release that we will add this test. And then, of course, test will fail. We have to fix the bug. Then it will pass. It will extend the test scope, and then we will make sure that within further releases it will not happen. But then the question is when will be the next release, and sometimes it can be even in a year, because we plan the Sharo plans to do like once in a year releases. We would like to do more, but the problem is either you support more platform, either you. Yeah, I guess automation is one thing, but with the laptops, like it's hard. It's harder and harder. So Google, I guess, got dedicated devices to, and they designed these devices themselves
For testing.
for testing.
Yep.
So it's not easy, that part.
Marek, do you have insights on that? Like, your automated testing, OpenQA, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
Right.
so we also test on laptops, and we have a large part of that automated. But yeah, there are, especially with interaction with firmware, it's not easy to automate. We mostly interact with the system via USB. So USB keyboard, mouse, you know that I request that feature. And to grab the output using HDMI output, which on laptops most cases then firmware don't put anything on the HDMI. So that's problem with interacting with firmware right here. If I would really need to, I would probably look into like using not USB but actually plugging like fake emulated keyboard and
Directly.
Yeah, we're doing this
yeah.
PKVM, this kind of stuff.
Yeah. So
This is already
recently I've finally got working emulated PS2 keyboard, so I have tests for USB and PS2 keyboard both.
That's also a thing that we have to talk about, but this is...
Yeah, it took some time to get it right. There were some timing issues, but I have it working now. But yeah, I would recommend to more automation, because then you can, even if you add one more test, you can run this test on all the platforms. So it saves you time not only running this particular test once,
but the point
but
is,
everywhere.
do you expose your lab infrastructure to the external world, to the CI of the public CI, and expose those results?
Yeah, results are you can browse them online.
But I'm saying, like, let's say someone setting up the pull request, does it trigger the CI?
It doesn't do that automatically. I can select which pull request
Open
should
QA
go.
test, blah blah.
Yeah,
blah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so there are some unit tests are run automatically, but just some mock-up environment. But the full OpenQA run, I schedule manually. There are various reasons for that. Not all of them are technical.
We could
Yeah.
automate that.
Yeah, we were on that path with Trenchboot, but it was easier because there were platforms which could be completely like over serial and this kind of stuff.
Yeah, for laptops, I think of maybe not all, but for most laptops, I do have serial console for debugging. In some cases, I simply put the PCI device with serial port. There is M2 slot. Sometimes there are two of them, so I don't need to disconnect the disk. So that's really helpful for debugging. There is the one on USB, the XHCI debug capability something. There are ways to get a serial output. So that's
So debug version
Yeah.
instead of
it's,
S?
I guess, yeah, that's also the problem. Like, you have to have different build for that. Yeah,
No, that's not a problem. I just
I
need to know
don't,
what I
but-
need
yeah,
to
but
put
you're
in.
not releasing that one. Yeah.
yeah, I have a runtime switch for that, but for firmware it's probably not that easy, I guess.
Yeah, you will have separate build for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in ads it would just mean another board, including the config options that are necessary, and that's it. Anyway, we can talk about this, but those builds could trigger a CI for testing for pre-release, like in the freeze. Anyway,
So just to make sure, like, the CI triggers stuff on real hardware in your, and then how's the feedback loop? How the results coming back? Like, I know they are published, but do they return result to say, this pull request cannot be merged because you're failing on this and that target?
So
they're not connected.
we have infrastructure for that. If ever there will be a time at which all the tests pass at the same time, yes, we'll make that blocking. But that never happened before.
You see. So
We
there is some.
Currently, we have some tests that are unreliable, so sometimes they need to be retried or something. But
Same.
basically, there is a human needed to review the
Yes,
test
so
results.
we have the same
Yes.
problem. Even if we run overnight automatic,
That helps. But
even if overnight we run automatic suit, then we can end up with false positive because I don't know, energy from the sun or never. I don't know what's. So some small letter in serial was eaten during the transmission, and then like string not matching, and and it's
but
saying.
also there is a question of scale. I have a bunch of machines, and every now and then I run into hardware issues. Like I have a bunch of Raspberry Pis, they use SD card, and the SD card dies from time to time.
Yes,
I have issues like that, or some, I don't know, power supply in one of the laptop dies, or the thing that press the power button was like
Yeah.
I
That's how you're
used
set up.
in many cases I have double-sided tape, and it's like like, fell off and stuff. Not
So
work. So yeah, it's there.
with 3 racks of hardware for automated testing, we have 1 person full time hired just for that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you know the pain. Yes.
Yes, that's essentially what we're taking money for. So yeah,
Yeah.
but anyway, yeah, I guess like the exposing have to happen, and we're going in that direction. We're also going in the direction of better automation and integration with the CI, but this will happen at some point in future, and not now.
Yeah, so I was mentioning we test our release candidates for the kernel. We have a bunch of tests that are hardware specific. We would not test release candidates for kernel. We don't test everyone, but every second or something without automation. There was a time where we tested new kernels manually only, and we definitely wouldn't do that for release candidates. Now we have many of those tests automated, and we can, like, testing a new RC kernel is just a matter of posting a magic comment into pull request, and CI checks if that's authorized user, and then put that into OpenQA, and magic happens. So yeah.
Okay.
And then somebody needs to review the results. That's the only actual manual work needed.
No, I think the first step, like if we have a RC, like I like this idea, like basically everything that is not fixed or is pull request waiting on draft is gonna be part in known issues. And after that, like you give me access so that I can start the test, like we iterate on that, like manually approaching feature freeze, bug fix, selecting commit, then automated testing, and then release. That's kind of the plan.
We
That's
had to write this down.
But it's recorded.
Oh, damn. You're right. Okay. Any other comments?
So that's the plan.
Yeah, I guess that's it.
All right. Thank you.